Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. Super excited. It's hump day, halfway through, guys, and then we have a long weekend. Unless you're in the real estate world or my world, then there's really no such thing as a long weekend anymore. But I'm here with my friend Don Toldson. I'm very excited to have him on the show today. So, Steve Barger, let us know you can hear us and see us. I said it right this time, Steve, right? Hard G. I'm learning. Let us know you can hear us and see us. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a heart. You know, because you want to hear what he has to say. He's got 2 books sitting in front of him. He's a real estate guru. Hey, Philip. Super excited though to have a conversation with him. But let us know you can hear us and see us. Because you don't, oh, the Ted. Okay, so we got stars. So we're golden. I love Steve. Steve and I are teammates, team members. He's the brains and the beauty and the bulk of the operation. I'm not sure what it is I do. But welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Ted.
Super excited to have you. All right, so we always like a background, right? So give us a little origin story on Don. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your journey. I mean, anybody who writes 2 books has a lot to say.
Yes.
So that means they have a lot of experiences. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Ted. One of the things that I wanted to share is that on my book here, Live Your Best Life, I am actually one of the co-authors with 9 other amazing authors, and this book is presented by Dr. Ruben West. But to just tell you a little bit about myself, born in Louisiana in a small town. My journey starts with when my father was murdered, and it's all in the book.
Oh my gosh, I did not know.
Yes, I was 7 years old when my father was actually murdered, and my father, he was my hero. But I will get on, with that later. But I'm an author. Not only a co-author, but an author as well. I've written my book called The Power of Living When You Take the Limits Off. It was actually my first book. But then I'm also a speaker. I work with an organization called the Black Belt Speaker, and we travel all over the nation and actually the world, over in Africa and London and other places, speaking. And I don't want to leave this out, because my wife would get me. I'm a husband.
Husband, that's right.
And I'm a father of 6. I've been married for 15 years to my wife, and I'm
Father
a father
of 6.
6. Yes.
God bless her.
Thank you.
Not you, brother.
Thank you.
God bless her.
Thank
All right,
you.
so I'm sorry about your dad. I mean, I know that's been a catalyst probably your entire life. So you're in New Orleans. What did you want to do? So that happens. You have this tragedy around you. How did you get past it? How did you get to the next level? You're very young, so young kids, I mean, they're resilient, obviously, but that still means that you have things that you have to overcome, obstacles you have to try to deal with.
Absolutely. One of the things that I share with people, I say my father, he was my idol. He was my idol. There was time when my father would work a 12-hour shift. He would come home, and at that time, it was just my older brother and I. And my father, he would actually get us, and he would hoist us, he would put us up on his shoulder, and he would just spin us around, and we would have a great time. Idol. So to have your father taken from you, and I mean, he would actually spin us around, and we would just be so excited, and we would say, Dad, you are the greatest of all time. We called him the GOAT. Dad, you were the greatest.
GOAT back then.
Yes, back then, as a father. And even though we were poor growing up in Louisiana, it was a rural area, the job market was not that great. But even though we were poor, we did not know it, because we had our father that was there, that was overseeing our life. So we had a great time. The food wasn't always there, the money wasn't always there, but as a child, we did not know.
So how did you make it afterwards? So 7's very young.
Yes.
So you've got this whole time frame where you're growing up. What was it like, and how did you figure out what you wanted to do? Because there's no father, I'm assuming. I don't know the story, so I'm excited. So tell me, I'm excited to learn. There's no father figure at that point, so you're trying to maneuver through this.
Yes.
As a kid. What's going on then?
Okay. Well, Ted, the very night that my father was killed, I was woken up because I heard my grandfather's voice coming from the front room, and I heard my mom talking with him, And afterward, I heard my mom scream, and she said, oh my God. And then my grandfather, he leaves, and then my mom, she comes in the room and she said, guess what? She said, your father, he was killed last night. Now my mom was crying, but even at the age of 7 years old, I was consoling my mom. I was saying, Mom, it's going to be okay. Mom, it's going to be okay. Now at that age, you really don't know. You really don't know the real tragedy of it all. All you know is that that person who was your idol and you loved so much is no longer there. Is no longer will be coming home
Sure.
that evening.
Sure.
So as time went on, my mom, she was a nurse, and she had to go through this process of raising two boys at that time and trying to raise men. And she's a woman, and she's trying to raise men. And there's some issues that comes up that only a father would know what's going on with their sons. So as time went on, I had to have my grandfather, my uncles, and my grandfather. He was the local pastor because it was a very small town. But I had to have other men, uncles and cousins, and in order to mentor me and my brother. Because
So you had that. You had someone. You had a male figure,
Yes.
a father figure, come in. So tell me a little bit about how that plays from New Orleans, because you're obviously here in Orlando.
Yes.
So how do you get from, we were talking earlier before the show how amazing New Orleans is, the not the touristy part, guys,
Oh, no.
the other part. But you're going through all this, and I don't want to give people too much, because I want them to read the book, right?
Right.
So, but I want you to tell, so you get to this part, you've obviously got grandfather, uncle, you've got somebody who's helping you through. How do you get, so let's say you're at high school, how do you know you're an adult? What goes on next with that?
Well, Ted, what happened is that growing up without a father, I became so angry. You know, there were situations that came up in my life, and I was like, Dad, I wish you were there. Dad, why weren't you there? Now, I was talking with a gentleman as I was growing up, and he said, do you realize that if your dad could have been there, that he would have been there? Because I was told that on my dad's deathbed, his last words was, oh my God, what's going to happen to my sons? What's going to happen to my sons? And then he took his last breath. But growing up, I was very angry. I would get into fights, and I would scream at the person who I was fighting. I was like, I hate you. But I didn't realize that I was directing that hate toward my father, because in essence, I blamed him for not being there, even though he would have been there if he could have, but through death, he was not there. And even with that, I blame him. And not only did I blame him, I blamed the person who actually murdered my father.
Well,
and
sure.
And I blamed myself. And why would I blame myself? I blame myself because I did not want to feel that hurt. I did not want to feel the way that I was feeling toward my father for not being there, but also I did not want to feel the way that I felt about the person who actually murdered my father.
Right.
So one of the things that I wanted to do at some point, I haven't done it yet, but at some point I wanted to approach that person and let them know, hey, even though you took my father's life,
They're still around?
Forgive you. Yes, she is.
Wow.
I forgive you for taking my son, because with this person that took his life, he had other kids with this person. And one of the reasons that I did not like this person is the fact that she did have other kids for my father. But what really bothered me was that they looked more like my father than I did. And I hated that. And it's something that I had to deal with as I grew up. But as time passed, I had a chance to actually get to meet them. We're very close now. I've had a chance to get to meet them.
That's a good story.
Yes.
I like that.
And one of the things that I had to realize is that they lost a father as well.
Right. Well, it's perspective, right? As you get
Yes.
older, you're going to see the perspective. All right, so what do you do when you venture out? You turn 18. What's next?
I venture out. My uncle, he was a doctor prior to him passing, PhD, and I went to live with him. I went off to college to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Had a great time there. Got my bachelor's degree. Had a great time there. But he took me and he mentored me And during those evenings, I would go with him and I would do odd jobs and work. And he showed me that actually work pays off. After college, I ended up going to the Air Force. I think
Nice,
I
that's
think
right.
it's one of the greatest.
Am I allowed to say
branches.
thank you for your service? I don't know what's going on.
Thank you.
Appreciate
But,
that. Hi, Alice.
I love being in the military. It was a family atmosphere, and it being a part of the military, it actually kind of helped to mold me into the man that I am now because it gave me structure. It gave me something to focus on, and not just continue to focus on the past, but also to focus on my future.
So you're military. Thank you again. I mean, I think
You're
it's
welcome.
awesome. Hi, Alice. If you didn't hear that, I'm so happy you guys are on today. Military, 4 years.
Yes, 4 years.
All right, and then so what happens a lot? We talk about it on the show a lot. People get out of the military, and then there's this whole transition back into civilian life.
Yes.
So you're in that. You're structured. Everything's structured. That's why you hear about the 22, the vets that unfortunately commit suicide.
Yes.
It's just a tough place. Hi, Carlisa. Tough place to be. Hugely tough. So how do you make the transition? How is it? Is it good for you? Did you find your place? What was that like for you?
Well, one of the things, Ted, is that I wanted to serve my country. So I joined the military back in 1987. So I was in the military doing Desert Storm. And one of the things is that I recall sitting on my bunk, waiting for that call to come in. So the call came in and they said, hey, you're going to be, you will be a part of this war. You're going to be going over to Riyadh. So I had a chance to actually take part in Desert Storm. But being in the military, like I said, it gave me structure. It gave me hope. It guided me. Now, once I left the military, I worked several different jobs just to try to find myself, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it goes back to my father wasn't there, so I could not go to my father and say, Dad, what do I do now? So those are questions when a father is not there. That these are the type of questions that men would love to ask their father, because I don't care how old you get, you still need your father.
So what did you do?
So-
What did you do? How did you end up where you're at now?
Okay.
Right? So you have this, you're transitioning, you're trying to figure out what career you want to do. Again, people really minimize the fact that it's really hard. Every veteran I've ever spoken to, the most difficult thing is you've got this family environment, these people would die for you,
Yes.
and you get out into this crazy real world, the civilian world, and it's just not like that, as we all know. So you're having to maneuver through that, figure out, you don't have your squad, you don't have your
Right.
team, you don't have anybody behind you. So how do you land at real estate?
Okay. For a while, I worked as a police officer. I worked as a deputy sheriff back up in Colorado Springs. So I worked different ends and odd jobs. I worked for the U.S. Postal Service. So there was different other jobs that I worked. So then I decided, my brother, who was a realtor, he sold timeshare, so he had to have his license. And my wife, who was a timeshare manager, she was licensed also. So I went to one of their bonus meetings, and they're getting $12,000 bonuses, $30,000
That's where people
bonuses.
get sold.
and
Those
so-
bonus meetings. Oh my God, you're like, what?
So
I didn't make that in the last couple of months.
So I saw the money, and but after I saw the money, and I went and I received my license, I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go in wholeheartedly. And after my first sale, I realized that, hey, this is something that I love doing. I love helping people to go from no hope, not knowing how they're going to live that dream in this country of home ownership, going from point A to point Z. And once I had my first sale and I realized that I was able to do that, I drew a passion for it. So it's something that I love doing. And what I realized is that I love helping people. That was a passion that I did not realize that I had, because all my life I've been looking in the past. But once I decided to look toward the future in real estate, then that's when I realized that, hey, I can help people in a positive way and be able to feel good about myself, but also to make a living in the process.
So how do you get to, because there's a lot of realtors that watch this show. Hey,
Yes.
Batman. Hey, Ellen. Hey, guys. There's a lot of realtors that watch the show, but they don't take it to the next level where you're
Yes.
writing books
Yes.
and you want to be a speaker. So talk about how that happened, because I think a lot of all people have a story. That's why we
Yes.
do the show. That's the hashtag. What's your story?
Yes.
So how do you get to that point where you're like, all right, I feel good about what I'm writing, because the title of the show, of course, is live your life, live your best life,
Mhm.
walk by faith. So talk about how, and that's just one of your books.
Yes.
You've got the two.
Mhm.
But talk about how you get to authorship. How does that even come into play? You've got all these other things going on. You have 6 children. Your wife is a saint, I keep saying.
Yes, she is.
And so you have 6 children, and you're trying to figure it out, and you don't know, all right, how all of a sudden do you go, all right, well, I want to be an author?
Okay.
Most people don't say that.
I know. And it's funny because growing up, I hated reading. So how do I become an author when you're at the point where you hate reading? So after I became a realtor and I joined this organization called Black Belt Speaker. Well, let me back up. First of all, I joined Toastmasters, Claremont Toastmasters, because I had a stuttering problem. So I tried to find a situation where I can where I can learn how to not stutter. So I joined Toastmasters. They did a great job, Claremont Toastmaster.
Awesome.
But I learned in the process that I love speaking. And I never knew that until I joined Toastmasters to overcome my stuttering. So I learned speaking. So from that, a friend of mine told me about Black Belt Speakers. Now I want to share this story with you because I think it's great. A few years ago, I was supposed to be a part of an earlier book. What happened is that I called Dr. Reuben West and I said, look, I'm not going to be a part in this book. I have so many things going on. So he said, okay, great, Donald, no problem. Now, here's what's so great about that story is that the person that filled in for me a few years ago, she tried to take her own life. So the story that she inserted in that book, someone else read it that was on the verge of taking their life. So it was her time to be in that book. It was not my time at that point. It was her time to be in the book. And she shared her story.
That's awesome.
She said, I read I read that story at that time, and it prevented me from taking my own life. So a lot of time when we think that we are supposed to do something at a particular time, it's not our time. So
Correct.
2 years later,
That's true.
I contact Dr. Reuben West and I said, I'm ready. I've gotten some things together. I'm ready. So the book, Live Your Best Life, Walk by Faith, was the next series of, that was coming up. And he shared with me, he said, it was not your time. Now is your time. And it was.
And so how did you come up with, I love that, because I'm a big believer in timing, right?
Yes.
Whatever your faith or your beliefs are, I'm
Yes.
a big believer in it's all in God's timing.
Amen.
So it really, if it's not meant to be, you can't force it.
No, you can't.
And what would have happened if your story had been there and hers hadn't? That person would probably not be here, which is what I love. I love the impact of that. All right, so how did you get to what you wanted to write about?
Well, what I did is that in order to get past my hurt of my father not being there, I had to actually write it out. So the story that I shared about my father being my idol. I shared that my father, that he was a mountain of a man. He was actually a bodybuilder. He was very, very strong. And the story that I love is the story that my grandfather, he shared with me. He said, your father was so strong that in the Louisiana State Fair, he said that when the fair came to town, your father was just turning 18 years old. And they had this contest, whereas that if anyone can pin this black bear, it was declawed, it was muzzled. If anyone can pin this black bear down to the ground for 10 counts, they would win $100. Now, my father has so many different friends, and they knew that my father was the only one that could possibly do that because of his strength. So this black bear, he came at my father. And my father, he jumped to the side, he grabbed the bear, and he throws it on his side, and he pinned it down for 10 seconds, and he won the $100. Now, my grandfather was the one that told me this story, so, being a young man, a child, my brother and I, we would always go, ah, every time we would hear that story. But so that is what kind of led me to write that story. And the thing is
that what you put in the book? Is that your
yes,
chapter is about that?
that's
Because you have a section, you have a chapter,
yes,
right, in that particular book.
yeah, actually I have two.
You have two
chapters. My second chapter, what I share is that I share with people how they can overcome different type of tragedies, because in this book, which is packed and filled with so many different stories. Well, there was 10 co-authors, so they share their stories of the different tragedies that they went through as well, and how they were able to overcome. Now, I gave 3 different points. One thing that I mentioned was that you must recondition your mind. That's one of the strategies that I give. You must recondition your mind. Now, with that statement alone, what it signifies is that at some point that your mind was conditioned and transformed. So the second thing that I mentioned is that you must utilize your gifts and your talent. Now, what I share with people is that if you don't utilize your gift and your talents, what you are doing is that you are robbing the future generation of what is rightfully theirs. And the third thing that I mentioned is that you must never give up. A lot of people, they ask, when am I going to become successful? I've been doing all this work. When am I going to become successful? You will become successful when you become successful. Do not put a time limit on your success.
That's true. All right, and how did the second book come into play? Which is second? Is this first or second?
The second book is actual Live Your Best Life. The first book is
the first one you wrote on all your own.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you wrote these two, and we're gonna share all the links, guys. Don't worry. But this one was all Don.
Yes.
Right. There's no other author. There's authors in this one, but there's no other authors in that one.
Right.
How did that come about?
Well, in the first book, The Power of Living, when you take the limits off, I share different stories. Not only do I share my story of when I was getting baptized by my grandfather and my grandfather. It's funny, in the state of Louisiana, when you're getting ready to get baptized, they have a community baptism pool. So on that Sunday, we would go to church. My grandfather, who was a Baptist preacher, he was my preacher growing up, my mentor. So when I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, on that Sunday, we had to take a mile march to the pool, and mind you, this is during the summertime. So as my grandfather was getting ready to baptize me, he looked down at me, and I can vividly recall it. He said, "This is my grandson, who I am well pleased with." And from that point, he dipped me in, and I'm out there trying to swim, because
that's a great biblical quote too.
Yes, he said, "This is my grandson, who I am very well pleased with," because he knew that my father had passed when I was very young. So to get to that point, whereas now I'm accepting Christ as my Lord and Savior, he was very pleased that I didn't go off the path, but that I chose Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
That's awesome. All right, so what's on the horizon for you? You're in real estate, right?
Yes.
So this is a crazy little world we live in. But you're growing your speaker business.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of people who are afraid. I did not know the part about stuttering, so that to me is that's a whole nother hurdle. People are already more afraid of public speaking than they are of death, or they're close. They're like 1 and 2. So you had to overcome a speech issue, and now you want to publicly speak. So how does that work? What do you speak about? Do you speak about the books? Do you go to churches? What do you do? Because you have black belt speakers. Mm-hmm. And what's the primary goal there? You want to travel with it? Do you want to give your message? Are you writing another book? I mean, I have lots of questions, so answer whatever.
My goal here is to share my message, a message giving hope to the hopeless, giving those who have a dream, because I believe that we all have dreams and goals and things that we want to do. It was the great Dr. Nelson Mandela who once stated that, well, let me go to Dr. Miles. He stated that to live life to the fullest and to die empty. Now, what he meant to live life to the fullest and to die empty is that we all have a passion. We all have something that we have been assigned to do in this life. So when we clock out, when death knocks on our door at some day, we need to make sure that our assignment has been filled. So what I wanted to do is that I wanted to share my story with people and to let them know, hey, whatever assignment that you have, whatever assignment that you have been placed on the planet to complete, then that is what you need to do. Because someday when you have to stand before the master and ask, and he asks you, why did you not complete your assignment, you're going to have to answer to him, because people are counting on you. I share with people organization, a foundation for others to be able to receive scholarships. If you did not create that foundation, then that person who was supposed to receive that scholarship would not receive that scholarship, because the foundation was never created. So everything that we do, there is a reciprocal, there is something that someone else is going to benefit from it, and that is why we need to step into our purpose. You know, Dr. Miles Monroe, he shared that, he said that the greatest tragedy in life, it is not death. He said, but it is bumping into someone that you should have been.
I love that.
Yes.
All right. See how fast it goes?
So, yes.
We're going to share all of Don's contact information. That's right. We all have a purpose. We're all a purpose. So Dallas is sending love and blessings. We're going to share all of Don's contact information, but not his contact, just that. We're going to share how you can reach out to him, how you can book him as a speaker, how you can read the 2 books that he has. I mean, he's got lots of stuff. Plus, he's a real estate guy, right?
Yes.
And so you want to reach out to him. He's got a lot more message to give, obviously. But I love your story. I love that's those are some obstacles. And you know, people watch the show sometimes and they think, oh my God, nobody could possibly have been going through something I've been going through. I mean, he's got some really big ones here. Murder of a dad and stuttering. I'm sorry, those are that's tragic and a challenge, 1 and 2. So you want to reach out to him, read the books. Any parting words of wisdom for them, my friend, before we head out?
Yes, no, one of the things is that I was mentored by Mr. Les Brown, and most of you probably know him. And you know, one of the things that I love what Les Brown, he says that I choose not to be a common man. He said that it is my right to be uncommon if I can. He said that I speak opportunity and not security. He said that it is my right and my privilege, he said, to stand proud and erect and to stand boldly before God, that what God have done for me, he can also do for you.
Nice. All right. You've been a joy to have on the show, my friend. Yes. Thank you so much, Don Toldson. Yes. Reach out to him. Get the books, guys. Look at what he's doing. It's awesome. This is a man who knows his purpose. Doesn't mean that he knew it in the beginning, right? So we all have struggles and obstacles. We all trying to find our way. This is his journey he's sharing with you, so maybe he can take away a teeny little bit of the pain and help you a little bit with the direction that you guys want to take. Thanks, my friend, for being on the show. We love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Mwah. Have a great night.
Thank you.